Hello, and welcome back to Golfing Made Simple, an endless journey to discover simple truths in golf and life. All right, up till now, we've gone through the basics. We've got an episode on the grip, the setup position, the pre-shot routine. Last time we ended with the one-piece takeaway. So starting the backswing with a one-piece takeaway, and those things were all pretty consistent. They were pretty standard in terms of how the best golfers approach those individual fundamentals. And now, as I start to look at completing the backswing, things open up very broadly into all sorts of different possibilities. Many golfers do drastically different things and are still top competitive golfers. So here there's a lot of variation. And we talked last time with Paul about how we're all different and we have to find our particular unique swing. And I know for me that can be difficult because I'm late to the golfing obsession. I didn't have all that time as a child growing up and having it ingrained into my physical movements and muscle memory. So I'm having to learn this for the first time. So hopefully you can use my obsession with the golf swing, because I really do try to research all these things, look at what the best golfers do, and try to find consistencies and patterns to try to make it simple. All right, but right now at this point, it's honestly not simple because there are so many different choices, and it's sort of like learning a foreign language at an older age. If you pick it up while you're very young, it comes naturally to you, and you can't really explain all the details about the language. You just know it. And it's the same way with golf. If you grew up golfing and you had all those instincts ingrained with how to swing the club and the feel of everything, you can be a great golfer and not really necessarily understand all the time exactly what it is you're doing. So if we're starting later, it's a little more difficult, but it's also a lot of fun because we get to really think about, okay, what exactly do I need to do to make this swing work? So today is probably going to be the most complicated episode because I do want to talk about some common patterns that make for a good backswing. So I would like to say I can show you this is the backswing that you want to replicate, but you can't. There's too many differences, too many variations, and all I can show you is some principles that are pretty general and that do lead to a good outcome. So to do that, I'm going to move over to a hitting area here. So give you a little change of scenery here. All right, so I'm hitting into a net here. Obviously be very safe when you're doing this. So last episode we talked about the one-piece takeaway, and that is you're at your setup position, you've got the proper grip, you've got the proper ball alignment, left foot tilting slightly out, right foot mostly parallel to the target, and we take our stance. Then we turn with the core, not pulling back with the hands or the arms. We're keeping the hands and arms relatively passive. We're allowing the core to turn. Now when we're making this turn, we also, one of the key principles is extension. To have power and consistency in the swing, we want these arms extended. And as we rotate, we want to keep that width, they call it. Keep the width, keep the extension going back, okay? And notice I'm keeping this left arm straight. The left arm will stay straight, doesn't have to be totally rigid, but straight. The right arm will have to fold in, but it will fold in naturally. Even though I'm pushing out with the left, the right arm will fold in and I'll get back into a higher position. Now to step back a minute, when we get confused with all these details, remember one of our first episodes, when you start to get overwhelmed, go back to standing straight up with the club out and naturally swinging around. Everybody feels that this is a very easy, natural movement. And you can see the left arm is straight out, The right arm folds as I get back. My wrist naturally cocked back, okay? And my weight shifts to my right and then comes through to the left. All right, so when you get lost, go back to that basic situation here and it will make more sense. But as we're bent over at address, the single piece takeaway, keep the width. And as this is happening, you can see my left heel is starting to come up. My left knee is turning in. As I start this, I'm in this position here, and I continue to turn. The main part of the swing is the rotation, and then secondly, the extension. So as I rotate, I should end up with this shoulder under my chin. Okay, I should have my left shoulder under my chin. So I'm rotating around my spine, and I'm also tilting downward. So I'm rotating and tilting. The shoulders are on an incline. Single piece takeaway. Shoulders continue to tilt and rotate while I maintain extension with the left arm, and I get back into this position. This would be completing the backswing position. The wrists do hinge. We won't go into the detail of that. You can allow that to happen naturally through the weight of the club. If you come back and let gravity work, you will automatically have the wrist hinge that you need. All right, so what it's going to look like here is we complete it, we get to our setup, one piece takeaway, and then we'll finish up with the downswing next time. So I know that's a little overly complicated, but just think when you're completing the backswing of a couple principles. Left heel is going to come slightly up, left knee is going to come inside. When you start the one piece takeaway, you're keeping the width, keeping the left arm straight, turning onto the right leg. And the right leg, you don't want it rigid, but it will straighten as you go back. So as you're doing your one piece takeaway, the right leg will straighten a bit, keep rotating, tilting, left shoulder comes under the chin, and then we release through. So we'll follow up on a lot of those details later, but that's the big picture. And when you get confused, again, go back to the simplicity. All those things I talked about are happening when you do this simple stand straight up and swing around your body. It's all about rotation and extension. Rotation and extension. All right, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.